Los Ángeles, lindo y querido, son tus calles por las que he crecido caminando. La calle Lorena, disfrutando por la Plaza Olvera, y en tus barrios quiero vivir. Mi corazón nacido aquí.
Hey everybody, this is Los Angeles, Lindo y Querido. We're celebrating Mexican Independence Day with a tribute to Thee Midniters.
One of the most unapologetic bands ever to emerge from the Chicano rock movement, it's a group from LA that felt rock was missing something important: Mexican pride. Tecate presents a tribute to Thee Midniters, featuring performances by Inner Wave, Avalon Lurks, and Jasper Bones. Thee Midniters were a bunch of brown guys from East LA that grew up on everything from Sinatra to the Stones to Javier Solís to James Brown. They wanted to make music that reflected where they came from, but that wasn't a thing. The sounds of the early 60s was about California dreaming, and that wasn't the life Chicanos knew. The Midniters weren't about to deny where they came from. They realized that music had the power to move people, and that's how they incorporated a message that was important to them. Chicano Power was an opportunity to make a statement. We are here. The Midniters used the loudness of their joy to stand up for what they believed in. They opened a lot of doors simply by existing and embracing their Mexicanity. When you speak up and proudly represent where you're from, you're planting seeds of resilience that hold us together. Forget the labels. Here's to those who composed the sound that speaks to our life. Tecate presents a tribute to the Midniters. Coming up next, Inner Wave.
When we first listened to the Midniters, it felt like there was a bunch of different artists that we already knew around, like in the indie scene that sort of had the same sound as the Midniters or different pieces of the sound.
Just the overall composition and feeling they create with like their songs, you know? That feeling that they give off with their music, that sort of classic vibe, I think is something I've always enjoyed and tried to like incorporate into our music somehow. Something I felt listening to the Midniters is just something very classic about their sound that reminds you of stuff, you know, that reminds you of a time that I wasn't even around.
The process of covering Making Ends Meet was really fun. I think it was a simple song, very simple, like
Chord progression.
Yeah, verse, chorus kind of structure. And so we learned it all together, like the original song, and we kind of incorporated, I guess, different elements of our own sound. Like there's like the octave up outro, and we also incorporated a key change. That's something that we like to do in our own music. So at some point when we had the original song down, we played it so much that we just kind of started hearing like a different version of the same song. So that's why we brought in the key change and all these different, effects that we use for our personal music.
Different elements and stuff. Because I think to try to copy exactly what they did, like we couldn't do. So we figured we might as well just make a new version, you know, I guess like our version of it.
I don't wanna be the one that says that this has got to stop.
having us, y'all. I want to say thanks to Tecate for bringing us to Los Angeles, Lindo, and Querido. And such a privilege to be here. We're fans of Thee Midniters. And now we're going to play one of our own songs. This one's called Rose. Thanks for tuning in. We're Interwave. Thanks to Tecate for having us here. Happy Mexican Independence Day. Viva Mexico. It's a privilege to do this. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And my friend Avalon Lurks is next, so don't change the dial.
Coming up next, Avalon Lurks.
So the first time I heard the Midniters, I was struck by the singer's voice, and I just immediately resonated with this sort of melancholic and wistful sound that he was giving. I could feel the energy of the music being so deeply rooted in Southern California and in like the Chicano experience. We, as just a culture, like need more representation, and it's beautiful to see representation in every era of music. and that just wasn't really being done back then. I mean, I also think that like the people who were more in the mainstream, in the public eye, were like mostly like white people. So it is always good to see like representation and to feel like you are, you know, being spoken to as a person in the audience, you know. So I covered a song from the Midniters called Don't Go Away. And that song is pretty much a love song about not wanting, it's sort of about having an attachment to someone, and then, I mean, it's very literal, you know, don't go away. Like, I'm like obsessed with the way that the chords change in like the beginning, which you'll hear. Just kind of has this like, it reminds me of like a circus or like a fun house. It's a really trippy song. When I was kind of sitting down to sort of figure out how I was gonna cover this record, you know, I sent a couple references to my band, and I said I want it to be pretty minimal. I want to keep it aligned with like this certain sound. And when we got into the rehearsal space, it was like, you know, I don't think any of us realized how technically challenging the structure was, and the way that it was played was very specific. But you know, we banged it out, and we only had one rehearsal, so that's pretty crazy. But I had such a good time covering this record. So I think the process of turning any song into, you know, your own and really bringing it into the context of your world is starting with a song that's really well written. And the thing about the Midniters is that, you know, their records they would be good in literally any instrumental context. So, you know, just starting with a good record and starting with a good just baseline song, and then being able to kind of build the sounds off of it, I think that was definitely how we approached it, you know, and how I approach like pretty much music in general. I just like think that the song is the most important thing.
is Avalon Lurks, and this is my band, The Fund. I want to thank Tecate for making me a part of Los Angeles, Lindo y Querido. This is a beautiful tribute to the Midniters. I'm a huge fan. And the next song I'm about to play is one of my own. It's called Papi Chulo.
All right, thanks, guys. Up next, we have a literal angel, a king, a good friend of mine, Jasper Bones. Viva Santana, viva Mexico, salud.
Coming up next, Jasper Bones.
So the Midniters, yeah, I first listened to them pretty recently, and instantly I could already tell like how huge their impact is on like LA Chicano rock and that type of stuff. I could totally see that working into modern day like Chicano rock. I feel like a lot of younger brown kids like myself would definitely be inspired by that type of stuff. Especially, like I said, I started playing guitar when I was like 9. So to have a band that's from, you know, my area that's also very, very guitar heavy. Super, super, super similar. And yeah, I think from what I've seen, the Midniters were definitely kind of a pioneer, one of those pioneer bands in LA as far as like Chicano rock goes and that type of stuff. I think the biggest thing about Chicano rock in LA is that it goes hand in hand with LA culture, you know? So it's like, to me, Chicano rock is kind of a culmination of a lot of that, where it's a lot of these, you know, LA kids that were inspired by LA or West Coast culture, which is like, you know, very, very hip-hoppy and rappy. So for that to take a more chill vibe, I would say, is what I would describe Chicano rock as. So it's cool to see that like the lyricism that they approached and utilized is still very, very prominent in like today's music. So I chose the song Dreaming Casually by the Midniters, and from what I picked up from the lyrics is just the fact of like being carefree almost, and I think that's something that we're kind of lacking in today's society, where, and not to say that things aren't important obviously, but like there's a sense of carefreeness that gets lost a lot, and that's something that I personally have been trying to get better at, is just not overthinking. And so it's refreshing to look at the lyrics, and yeah, it's almost like, you know, they're removing themselves from reality for a second and taking a step back, just being able to enjoy life and take a pause for a second. So yeah, it was fun to, you know, kind of redo the song and make it more my style, which for me is, again, going, you know, into that R&B world, that very, very chill sort of feel to it. Super, super jazzy. A lot of my newer stuff is a lot more minimal in production. I kind of wanted to give it like a less is more type of, you know, feel, and let the melody kind of carry it. That way, you know, as a listener, you could really get to understand the lyrics and, you know, what they kind of speak to you, which for me is, yeah, a sense of like carefreeness and kind of a breath of fresh air from reality for a second.
Once in a while, hey, just once in a while, I wish you would come up to me, tell me what you'd like to be. Would you like to be rich and famous? Sure, no one else could really blame us for dreaming casually. Once in a while, just once in a while, if we let our cares just drift into space, we can always find a time and a place. Maybe Saturn or it, maybe Mars. The both of us just searching the stars, just dreaming casually. once in a while. Just once in a while. If we all forget about the past, many more days will get much more the last, yeah. I've been told before the end is nearing. Nevertheless, I can't go on fearing. Just dreaming casually. Once in a while. Just once in a while. Once in a while. Just once in a while.
Hi everybody, it's Jasper Bones, and shout out to Tecate for having us. Thank you guys so much. And happy Mexican Independence Day. This next song is called Missing You.
I tried for way too long. Oh shit, words came out wrong. I swear if you just let me in, we redo things a new beginning. I'll be your Dr. Jones. Call me, you know my phone. This map leads to the depths of hell. It's you, I choose my holy grail. Call me crazy, but I've been craving one more taste of you. Missing you around me, I'm getting pretty lonely. I can't get enough of you. You're like a shooting star statue, my Joan of Arc, the rarest of the buried treasure. I will die, you'll live forever. Let's run away together, rainbows and sunny weather. In the end, it's you and me. Our love will last eternally. Call me crazy, but I've been craving one more taste of you. Missing you around me, I'm getting pretty lonely. I can't get enough of you. Call me crazy, but I've been craving one more taste of you. Missing you around me, I'm getting pretty lonely. I can't get enough of you.
Thank you guys again so much, Tecate, for having us. And shout out to Thee Midniters for the huge influence on LA music. And salud y viva Mexico.
I think what Thee Midniters did is sort of paved the way for Latinos in music, for Latino bands in music.
Being prideful of your ancestry is definitely a journey for a lot of people, especially in America, because people do have a tendency to want to assimilate into like American culture. So I've always found it very comforting to be pridefully like Chicano, you know what I mean? And that's like a very specific experience. So I think that the more artists that can speak to that, the more representation we have, you know, it'll just continue this like lineage of pride for everybody. So I think it is really important to like also pay honor to those people and then continue to do the same thing on your own.
It doesn't necessarily have to be titled Chicano or Latin at all times, but it's important to acknowledge that that's part of my identity. And yeah, and then I think I'll continue making music for the sake of making music, you know?
Thanks for watching Los Angeles Lindo y Querido. Tecate. Mexico is in us.
Mexico is more than a territory. It's more than a country. It's a feeling. Wherever you feel Mexican, there is Mexico. It could be in the middle of LA, or in the middle of nowhere. It's in our blood. Don't waste time trying to hide it. It's too big, too strong. Believe me, there's no such thing as being half Mexican. Let's celebrate who we are. Tecate. Mexico is in us.